The first gringo boy who smiles at you.
I never seen you before. You're not Puerto Rican.
رامین امروز داره میره راهنمایی.
چه زود گذشت.
Star-crossed lovers and a spectacular score by Leonard Bernstein and Stephen Sondheim, West Side Story returns in Spielberg's new take on the classic musical. That's coming up in today's film show with critic Lisa Nesselson. Hi, Lisa.
Hello, Olivia.
And I'm also joined by director Hamy Ramezan, whose film Any Day Now is released in French cinemas this week. Hello, Hamy.
Hello.
Now, we'll be coming to your film in just a minute, but first, A West Side Story started life as a Broadway musical in 1957. Then, in 1961, Robert Wise and choreographer Jerome Robbins co-directed the film version we're all familiar with. It won 10 Oscars, including Best Picture, and here in Paris, it played for 5 solid years on one screen on the Champs-Élysées. Steven Spielberg has revisited the original Broadway show with a screenplay by Angels in America playwright Tony Kushner. Lisa, tell us, was this a good idea?
Well, quite honestly, I went into the theater with a fair amount of trepidation, and I came out with a smile on my face that I think lasted about 2 days. In Midtown Manhattan in the late 1950s, slums are being cleared with minimal regard for those who currently live there, a wary mix of people of European descent, especially Poles, Italians, and Irish, and people from the U.S. Protectorate of Puerto Rico, who have a perfect right to live and work in New York City. But their first language is Spanish, which makes them seem like uninvited interlopers. The film, in fact, chooses to leave the Spanish language dialogue untranslated in subtitles. The great irony, of course, is that the turf being disputed with no-nonsense violence by the white gang, the Jets, and the Puerto Rican gang, the Sharks, will soon belong to the arts complex called Lincoln Center and to very well-to-do tenants. The original template is, of course, Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet. At a dance held at the local high school, Jets co-founder Tony, of Polish heritage and trying very hard to behave himself after a stint in prison, first lays eyes on Maria, a spirited recent arrival from Puerto Rico and younger sister to Sharks leader Bernardo.
Okay, well, let's take a look at the singing, dancing, sweating, swearing atmosphere of West Side Story.
I never seen you before. You're not Puerto Rican.
Is that okay?
Do you want to start World War III?
You know, I wake up to everything I know either getting sold or wrecked or being taken over by people that I don't like.
You keep away from him. As long as you're in my house.
I'm a grown-up now, Bernardo. I'm gonna think for myself.
Well, you mentioned Romeo and Juliet. I should imagine that at the time, William Shakespeare couldn't imagine the great value of New York real estate.
Well, in a way, he sort of could because the themes are eternally relevant, alas. I think it's pragmatic to just state that almost everybody dislikes some other group, a nationality, a sports team. However irrational, it is human nature to want to feel superior to at least one category out there. Shakespeare's Juliet is 13 years old. Here, Maria has dialogue specifying that she is 18, so anticipating any potential objections. And in the new film, Maria is the one who initiates that first kiss with Tony. She is not being coerced, pressured in any way. Rita Moreno, soon to turn 90, is simply marvelous in a tailor-made role. She won the Best Supporting Actress Oscar for the original movie and wasn't offered another film role for 7 years after that. Something to keep in mind as we're subjected to the importance of Oscar this, Oscar that. And if you think it was tacked on to be more modern, the original play and movie already had a non-binary character. Very well cast here, tomboy to trans, which means the film has been banned in Saudi Arabia, where it was due to open on December 9th.
Oh, wow. Okay. And the film was meant to be released worldwide. Last year, had theatres not been closed due to the pandemic, but we are seeing more musicals cropping up, suggesting more people want to see them. Do you think Spielberg is really up to the form?
Well, I know what you mean about people just bursting into song for no particular reason. And as for Spielberg, well, him. When he makes a film, it's a film all the way. And from this time around, I've got nothing to say that isn't a positive, massive hooray. Find a big screen near you and run to it today. I think you'll enjoy the characters and tale. A girl meets a boy and not one note is stale. This film can't fail.
Bravo.
That was amazing. Good work.
Just like a jet or a shark. Now, West Side Story addresses the eternal problem of finding a place to fit in, no matter where you're from. And that question is also at the heart of Any Day Now, because this movie is a very personal one for you, Hamy, since it centres on an Iranian family who are seeking asylum in Finland. Yeah. Now, you too had to leave Iran as a child in very tense circumstances, eventually settling in Finland with your family. Can you tell us about why in this film you wanted to tell the story through the eyes of the young son?
Well, first of all, I think it's children are in cinema really good people from where to find the truth. Us all, adults, we have so many layers of egos to protect ourselves, but the children still have that sense of reality, and they react somehow very sincerely to what is happening. And I find it very interesting to follow the whole family's story through his point of view. And of course, me myself, I was the same age, so I thought maybe there is a value I can exchange with the audience. You know, have that experience myself.
I get the impression there's a lot of personal input into the character of Ramin. Let's take a look at a clip of Any Day Now.
چی شد؟
قبولمون نکردم. نوشته اگه اعتراض داریم میتونیم بریم دادگاه درخواست تجدید نظر بدیم.
خب پس یعنی یه فرصت دیگه داریم میگم درسته؟
آره.
جونم بابا چی شد؟
صحبت کردن با یه دختر چطور باید شروع کنم؟
لازم نیست چیزی بگی. فقط تو چشماش نگاه میکنی بهش لبخند میزنی.
Now, you mentioned it's a family story, and I noticed that family in the film have an amazing bond. The young children share really small living quarters with their parents, with minimal friction, apparently. How did your actors manage to convey that intimacy? Because I don't think they knew each other before, did they?
They didn't. It was, you know, as a film director, you find yourself very talented people, and they all are talented in their own ways, and your job is to bring them into this so-called same lake where you can all fish, you know. So just to be in the same page, and you know, asking Shahab Hosseini to come all the way from America or Iran, I think he was in Iran back then. It was just to get the atmosphere of the family. You know, I had a really strong vision of how Mehdipur should feel, and I just wanted to smile when I look at them, even though they wouldn't do anything. And I'm so happy that we achieved to bring Mehdipur to the audience view.
There was definitely a complicity there. Now, going to some of the more serious issues in this film, recently Finnish lawmakers raised the question of closing the country's borders with Russia in the context of the migrant crisis in Belarus, where asylum seekers have been pushed over the borders into neighbouring European countries. And that ended up not going ahead. The border remains open. How do you think Finland is doing with the question of immigration, as someone who's experienced that system a bit?
I don't know much about politics, but I have to say that there are so many amazing and great Finnish citizens, Finnish people who are trying to help. And I think politics is one side, and what we human beings can do. So for me, I would always want to remind people that we are not what the news tell us who we are. There are so many people who actually try to help, so I find that it's better to give them, the good people, time who are actually trying to help, and they achieve to help many families.
And they definitely come through in your film, which I would say. Now, Any Day Now follows a 13-year-old boy, and so does another famous film, The 400 Blows, the most famous of the 5 films François Truffaut made, starring his alter ego, Antoine Doinel. The Antoine Doinel films have been remastered, are in French cinemas this week, along with a special box set. Lisa, tell us more about that very special character.
Well, I keep reading that supposedly nobody buys DVDs anymore, but in France, that is simply not true. 84 companies still publish DVDs, often in these gorgeously produced packages, overflowing with bonus bonus material and lovely visuals. Now, in 1959, film critic François Truffaut became internationally known as a director overnight when his first feature, Les 400 coups, or the 400 blows, thrilled audiences in Cannes. Adolescent Jean-Pierre Léaud began an acting career that has lasted to this day. Léaud grew up in real time on screen over a period of 20 years. Age 13 to start, age 17 in Antoine and Colette, 23 and married in 1968 Stolen Kisses, a 26-year-old father at odds with his wife in Bed and Board, and divorced at age 34 in 1979's Love on the Run. The bonus material is superb here, both on the DVDs and in the accompanying book, and it gives me, coming full circle, great pleasure to point out that François Truffaut appeared as an actor in Steven Spielberg's Close Encounters of the Third Kind, playing French scientist Claude Lacombe, who knows how to speak do, 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 do in alien sign language.
Of course he does. Lisa, thank you very much for that wrap-up this week, and Hamy, thank you for joining us too.
Thank you.
We'll leave you with a little taste of the adventures of Antoine Doinel. Remember, you can get more movie news on our website and on our social media feeds too. There's more news coming up on France 24 just after this.
Ça va pas, ça? Antoine Doinel, Antoine Doinel, Antoine Doinel, Antoine Doinel.